Hey people, welcome to the Rubin Report. I'm the human filibuster, Dave Rubin, and I've got Vanessa Gomez and Whitney Mixter with me. We got a ton of great stories for you. We're in the midst of a 24-hour period right now where there is more speaking than probably has ever been done in the history of humanity. Literally just like 5 minutes ago, Ted Cruz ended his 21-hour filibuster. That's a lot of talking even for a politician. And then over in New York at the United Nations, which I also refer to lovingly as the Legion of Doom, they've been having the General Assembly, and a lot of talking. Not much action, a lot of talking. So we're going to get to all that and plenty more, including diet fries from Burger King. But let's start with the General Assembly in New York. This is every year. Everybody gets together. They put on their suits. They pretend they like each other, and they give big speeches, which are going to be going on all week. This really is all, right now at least, about Iran and their new president, Rouhani. And President Obama is trying to be buddy-buddy with them. And let's take a listen.
In the near term, America's diplomatic efforts will focus on two particular issues: Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons and the Arab-Israeli conflict. While these issues are not the cause of all the region's problems, they have been a major source of instability for far too long, and resolving them can help serve as a foundation for a broader peace. The United States and Iran have been isolated from one another since the Islamic Revolution of 1979. This mistrust has deep roots. Iranians have long complained of a history of U.S. interference in their affairs and of America's role in overthrowing an Iranian government during the Cold War. On the other hand, Americans see an Iranian government that has declared the United States an enemy and directly or through proxies taken American hostages, killed U.S. troops and civilians, and threatened our ally Israel with destruction.
Okay, so first off, I just want to note that I feel like Obama had just the right amount of gray in his hair for that. You know, they adjust his gray depending on how serious they want him to be. I feel like they really nailed it with that one. So Rouhani is the new president. They're calling him a moderate. They're saying he's on a charm offensive right now. He also is not denying the Holocaust like Ahmadinejad. He just says he's not a historian. So I guess that's progress somehow. What do you guys make of this? The overture is going on here, this little dance. You know, they didn't meet. They said they were going to maybe meet at a lunch, but then it turned out there was wine at the lunch, so Rouhani didn't want to go to a place where alcohol was being served. But what do you think of this whole idea of putting on a suit and everybody coming and at least talking? That does seem like maybe that's a little bit of progress, right?
I mean, I think it's the United States way of just being nice. I think there should be like a guy next to Obama being like, look, here's the thing. You guys are shady as fuck. We know it. Everybody knows it. That's just what we know. But we can't be the bad guy and come in there and just, you know, because we have a bad reputation to just come in and storm and say, you got to change everything. So we're like, you know what? We don't want to change your operation. We don't want to mess with you. We just don't want you having weapons of mass destruction and killing everybody. So we're just going to play nice. And then, you know, when I was a kid, it was like, don't start nothing, won't be nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, you know, as long as you cool, we cool. But when you start something, we're going to end it and it's not going to be good. So, I mean.
That would be a good name for a foreign policy.
Don't start nothing, won't be. I'm saying. I mean, listen, they have proven over and over again that every treaty they go into, they breach in some way or whatever. I mean, not just to us, and Obama pointed that out. He's like, look, it's not even just, you know, our beef. It's like everybody's beef. Yeah. And you're picking on, you know, Islam, and that's, you know, that's a sore spot for us too. So I think it's just our nicety way of not just barging in as we maybe would before. Like, look, we're trying to do this civil. We're trying to do this peacefully. We're trying to, you know, I think it's more of like a front like that, so that when we do eventually go in barging, that it's like, when we're rolling hard, like, hey, you brought it, you know?
So is that really what's going on? Because it does seem good to me on its face. It seems good. We're talking again.
So much seems good on the, I mean, at face value, there's so many aspects of government can seem great. I think, though, going along with what you were saying, I think that it would give added, you know, value if they played the theme song from Colors in the background while like he was doing it, you know, and like there's like, you know, you could get like hood with it. Come on, let's call it what it is here. Like, you know, I think Obama, first of all, the way he delivers his speeches in general, I always wait for that pause. I feel like I'm like getting lulled to sleep, like by this like George Clooney of a president.
Yeah. What didn't this speech seem particularly pausey?
Yes.
I thought he was very slow in this
It's
one.
very slow,
deliberate.
and there's like a pause before he says 1979. I'm like, what's gonna happen? And it pans to John Kerry, who's actually sitting there like this, like watching him, like with like a downturned face.
Well, he can't really move his face at this point, so that's not necessarily indicative of what Obama's saying. Yeah.
But I think his approach is very like you said, like very homey approach, very laissez-faire. Like, you know what? Let's just call it even. Yeah. Screw it. I think you did your fair share. We did our fair share. Let's just, truce, homie. Like, let's do this.
But that's what I mean by progress, because we never had an American president that went to the United Nations and was like, you guys have some valid reasons for hating us. We had Bush before this, and nothing was ever our
we just
fault.
barged in. That's what I mean. And we're like showing face.
So the idea of talking, even though they didn't do the handshake, and that's obviously not going to happen this week, it basically seems pretty good, right? Like, do you think there's any, a lot of Republicans are saying, well, this is bad because,
at least we thought about talking.
Right.
We at least thought about it. That's close enough.
That's it's like in a relationship. You're like, dude, I gave you the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you're using it just so later down the line, because you're going to end up later down the line, that you can use that and pull out that card and be like, remember we wanted to talk it out? Okay, well, talking's over. Welcome to the missiles or whatever.
So do you guys both think that that's really what's going on here? This is just the nice talk before ultimately something has to be done?
Based on history?
Or will be done?
Yeah, I mean, it's an idealistic approach. I mean, in reality, it's an idealistic approach. We have to see how things pan out with, who sticks to their word longer? It's like a waiting game. It's a chess game. That's literally what's happening here.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoever acts first, it's gonna come to a head.
Yeah. Well, I do have to say, I've been very hard on Obama lately, especially with all the Syria stuff. But I do think the talking is sort of good, even if at the end it just means that the smackdown.
It is much more civil to do it that way, or to at least look or appear as though we're trying to go the peaceful route first. And then, that second.
Yeah.
So,
we're Americans. It's all about appearance here, apparently. But so the whole real issue at the UN right now is this unveiling of the new president of Iran, Rouhani. And they're calling it the Charm Offensive. And he's sitting down with American media. And he sat down with Christiane Amanpour. We're going to get to her in just a moment. But I want to show you just a little bit of the beginning of their interview.
Hello, Mr. President. Nice to see you. Salam alaikum. Nice to see you again. Exactly. Please. Welcome to CNN. Thank you for doing this for us. I want to ask you what it feels like to be what some people have called the it man of this UNGA. Highly anticipated. You seem to be the focus of attention. And unusually for Iranian presidents, people are looking at you with some at least cautious optimism. What does it feel like to be in this position?
Before responding to your question, I'd like to actually extend my greetings to the people of America, who are very dear and near to the hearts of the Iranian people, and to wish them a good time and good times ahead.
He's wishing them a good time and good times ahead. I'm pretty sure he's talking about the sitcom. Okay, so this is very typical of what Amanpour does. She cozies up to all these people, and then they say things that are, we're going to have a good time, everything's great. Meanwhile, they don't have Facebook and Twitter. They had it for like a day last week in Iran, and then it was taken away. Gay people are still being put to death. All kinds of horrible stuff that everybody knows about. But they use our media to make themselves feel better and appear better. Is it nuts that we let our Western media, we're free here, so we let everyone talk, but is it a little nuts that we let everybody talk to us in this fashion?
I mean, everyone, or I think she does a specifically good job at really like nudging that, like giving a under the table tug to all these people that she interviews.
We're gonna get to that in just a second.
I mean, it's literally like, I feel like she's sitting down. It should be like Entertainment News in the background. And she's like interviewing him on like the latest movie that he's put out. Like, you look great. You're doing a great job. How are the kids? You know, it's like, no,
you're the man of the moment.
Yeah, you're the man.
You were great on that red carpet.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is, and that's why he has the liberty. He should feel comfortable being like, I'd like to just take a minute and just talk about, hey everyone, hope you're having a good time, looking good, kiss some babies, and it's like, especially in this situation, it's just kind of narrowed down to a ridiculous state.
Yeah,
It's
so,
not even dealing with issues, like you're avoiding any serious.
All right, well, before we bring that point really home, what do you think about them using the Western media? Because we do have free media here, so
you know
they
what?
should
it's a
be allowed.
double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I think absolutely we should have it by all means. I'm really for rights and for everyone should have a voice and we should hear all sides and all of that. Unfortunately, her voice and their voice is part of the voices that have to be heard. So. But to your fact, when he's like chilling and relaxed and whatever, I mean, if you're really, you're the president of Iran, like you're a huge figure, and you're sitting down with a serious journalist who's going to be asking you hard-hitting questions.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be a little nervous? Wouldn't you be sweating a little bit, like sweating like Paula Deen at the BET Awards? just a bead of sweat, you know, just something like a little simmer. I mean, the fact that they're so relaxed, it's like they know that it's bullshit. They
Right.
know
Well,
that
he didn't sweat in that interview, but he did sweat at the United Nations, so
Yeah.
that's good at least. But okay, so the reason I wanted to bring that clip up and really focus on Christiane Amanpour is because she does have a history of interviewing these people, pushing their propaganda, and then talking about it after, which is even more furthering their ideas. So this is 2 years ago. Remember Mohammed Morsi? He was the Muslim Brotherhood leader who then was voted in democratically, but everyone knew he wasn't going to bring democracy. And then he got deposed, and now he's in jail in Egypt right now. Not a good guy, did not do any of the things he said he was going to do. But here she is interviewing him right before he was voted in.
The slogan has come back again, and there are people who are concerned that a Muslim Brotherhood which wins the presidency and dominates the parliament could introduce a fundamentalist theocracy and Islamic theocracy. What do you say to that?
The Egyptian people are freely making their choice now, and they are the ones who chose the parliament. We are talking about elections and democracy. If the Egyptian people have chosen their leaders, then there won't be any room for worry. We want to transform from a president of the institution to an institution of the presidency, to an executive branch that represents the people's true will and implements their public.
Okay, so there's literally not a word of truth there. The people's will, which then he defied for a year and made it democracy much worse and cracked down on freedom of speech and all that stuff, and she just gives them a forum for this. Is this, I mean, we're going to talk a little more about the media later, but should we expect more from our media? Why doesn't she lose credibility after doing an interview like that, and then she does the Rouhani interview 2 years later and everyone thinks that's great and he's telling the truth?
I mean, I honestly don't. There is no answer for that. I can't figure that out at all. But
explain what a CNN executive
what
is
she's
thinking.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, I have no idea what she's thinking. To me, it seems like she's just not doing her job. Like, she's literally just saying, like, reading facts about the person and being like, well, I have no analytical standpoint from this at all. I'm just going to read these facts back to you, and you just affirm what you think, And the problem is, it's like, God, in that interview, I remember when that first came out, but it's like hearing her say, so you're saying that women will have rights, and he goes on to say, women will, refers to things in a he. And at which point, if I was the reporter, I would, question that. I just directly asked you something about women, and you're referring to them in a he standpoint, like women don't even exist. But she goes on to just completely smooth everything over.
Yeah.
I don't know, and honestly, it takes. I generally like CNN. I think it takes away credibility, of this reporting quality, if you will. Sorry,
totally
CNN.
agree.
I mean,
Take it away.
I think she goes along with it because I think it's, the opportunity to sit down with, huge people. And I think, these people are cool with sitting down with a journalist that they know is not gonna, give them the hard time. Right. If you see all her interviews, they're not really interviews. To me, an interview is you ask someone a question, they respond, and you either affirm that, or maybe you're like, wait a minute, stop.
Absolutely.
Or, she doesn't really do back and forth. It's kind of like, ask a question, whatever you say, that's cool. All right, next question.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not an interview to me, you know? And so I think that's what it is. And it unfortunately, essentially, turns out to be just literally that, a platform for them to just come and say, hey, everything. I mean, we saw how fantastic that turned out.
Right, exactly.
You know,
so then why don't people talk about it? I don't think I'm that much of a genius that I was able, I mean, I remembered watching that clip 2 years ago, and then I saw the Rouhani one, and I was like, I got to show these things back to back. Why doesn't the media do it? Is it really just because they want to keep getting, I'm obviously not interviewing Rouhani, and he probably wouldn't sit down with me. But is it just because they just want to be liked?
Well, I mean,
it's like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, like you want to cozy up to the president, and you want to get the interview.
I mean, you have to think, like, in a sense, you know, he's not sitting down with everyone. You know, he's sitting down with her, and it probably is, like you said, he feels comfortable. So maybe it's that they're providing you with the information that they're laying out on the table, and then you can take that and either take it at face value, or you could read in between the lines as do the smart people of this panel do, you know?
I love how, if you watch the clip, which you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, she asks him again about the Holocaust, which of course Ahmadinejad had denied, and he says, well, I'm not a historian, which, like, and then she does exactly what you said, which is instead of following up and saying, well, it's not about whether you're a historian, there are historical facts.
It's like standing in the rain and being like, well, I'm not a meteorologist, but, you know, it's like, what the
Like, it's not that, like, are you really conceding that much by saying that the Holocaust happened? Like, is that much of a concession? Like, bad stuff can happen, and it can happen on both sides. Okay, just craziness. Speaking of more craziness, so I just mentioned it earlier, the Ted Cruz filibuster in the Senate just ended. I think it went around 21 hours, but since it just ended, I don't have the exact number on me at this moment. Now, interestingly, he was filibustering a Republican-passed bill in the House that was going to defund Obamacare. So he's a Republican filibustering a Republican-led bill. Nothing will come of this. Obamacare obviously is going through. This is the president's signature thing in his entire, his legacy will basically be based in this, so nothing is going to happen with it. But let's watch a little bit of Ted. This is 21 hours of talking. This was about, I think, 10 hours in.
He also, I will credit my father, he invented, this wasn't for the restaurant, but he did it anyway, he invented green eggs and ham. He did it two ways. One, the easy way is he'd put green food coloring in eggs, chop up ham in it, and as a kid, Green Eggs and Ham was my favorite book when I was a little boy. And so he would make me green eggs and ham. You can actually do it. The food coloring is a little bit cheating, but if you actually take something like spinach and mix it into the eggs turn green.
Okay, before I directly address that, I did do a little research on this. Obviously, Green Eggs and Ham was written by Dr. Seuss. And according to my research, he's not even a doctor. So I don't know who he's quoting when he's really doing this about Obamacare. That was a terrible joke. It was just really terrible. Okay, so there were 21 hours of this. That was in a way, that ended up being like the least of the crazy things that were going on. He started making all these Star Wars comparisons that I liked, actually. What is the purpose of this? You know, at least when Rand Paul did the anti-drone thing, everyone seemed to back him, and there was this idea that you can't have a drone showing up and blowing you up when you walk out at 7-Eleven or something. But this became more of a mockery. Is this just purely like him going for 2016, like, I need to boost my profile, I'm going to talk for 21 straight hours?
I think he did it for the bragging rights. Hashtag filibuster master. I mean, look, if he was reading, 50 Shades of Grey, I might have tuned in, but since he didn't, I feel like just watching the little clips that I did, it was like I'm listening to his therapy session out loud. So maybe that's why he did it. I mean, you hear yourself talk for that long. It's like he's like discovering things. He's like, oh no, that was kind of cheating with the green thing, maybe with the spin. It's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I absolutely think he did it to say that he did it. Yeah. Because there really was no reason to do it.
So before we get too glib about it, if he really believes that somehow giving universal health care is going to destroy the country, because so many countries in the past have been destroyed by health care, right? Like, that's like, everyone knows that, obviously.
Oh, yes.
If he really believes it, then he did do the right thing, and we should try to give him a pass. What do you think?
I mean, first of all, I would like to go back and say, yes, I think he did it for that bragging rights. I think that there's some, like, it's like some southern barbecue house where they have, like, can you eat this 25-pound burger? And they put your picture up on the wall.
Right.
Like, there's, like, Wendy Davis and him, there's, like, all pictures of politicians who have successfully done it and how many hours. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the frustrating part here is that on Capitol Hill, you don't have, it's incredibly liberal on what the technical terms are of what you can talk about. Wendy Davis got ousted at the 11th hour for slightly getting off topic. He's here talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, answering questions about, horsehair combs or whatever the hell. And it's to me, it's creating a mockery out of the overall thing that he's standing for. You know, it doesn't have it's not impressive point to me that he can stand for 21 hours and talk.
Yeah, also, I'm not sure if people quite understand this point, which I've been tweeting a lot about, that, you know, the Senate and Congress, they have special health care that no one else has access to already. So this is a man who has specialized health care, filibustering and trying to stop the rest of regular people of getting universal health care. So the irony somehow...
Well, the irony, I mean, also the fact that he's standing there and he's talking about how he's representing the general public, and that's his goal, to be the people's voice. His issues that he stands on completely go against the popular opinion on gun control, on a couple of different things.
Well, there is that Texas thing. So it's like he's representing Texas.
He's representing, and those are the only people in the country. I forgot. You know, I don't know. I just think that he's just completely bass-ackwards and everything. But
Isn't that what politics is about, though? I feel like this is kind of a mirror to the Obama speech. It's like he genuinely is against it, and he thinks that it's going to fail and that it's going to be, you know, the demise of the country. So he wants to be able to say, for the record, people, do you remember that I went on a filibuster? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just like Obama being like, hey, man, I put my hand out to shake it. You didn't show up.
Does that, okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot. Does that make you guys think that, you know, I talk about this stuff every week, and that's what all these news networks are doing, but that really it's just this big charade. It's this big, you know, house of cards. If you watch the show, you know, it's all this backwards back deal stuff where everyone's just covering their ass constantly, right?
Oh yeah, in a country where he can legitimately read Green Eggs and Ham, the whole book, you know, and everybody's okay with it apparently. It's just like, I mean, other countries with universal health care are just looking at us laughing like, what is this? You know? And rightfully so, apparently.
Yeah, one thing I was sort of fascinated with this is that the media coverage of this was a little bizarre because Fox, obviously, who likes Ted Cruz, they were showing a lot of it. CNN at one point had him in the little box with no sound, you know, while they show something else. And MSNBC was actually showing video of why it's ridiculous what he's doing, which I guess is all standard stuff. And a perfect segue for the next segment because, believe it or not, the media, they did want war with Syria and pretty intensely and over the toply. A new Pew study found that all cable news channels were more in favor of war with Syria than not going to war. And that includes the newest cable channel, the cable news channel Al Jazeera, which had promised a different take and that they were going to give us, you know, because we're so controlled here by the media, they were going to give us something else. Turns out, not exactly. Let's look at some of the numbers on this. Okay, so this is really kind of incredible, and it shows you how partisan everything has become. MSNBC, 64% of their messages about the war were pro-war. Now, at the same point, they also had the highest number of mentions that were anti-war, so they tried to balance themselves out a bit. But as you can see, Fox was at 45 and then 20 against. There's a lot of numbers there. The base point is, as you can see, everything on the blue on the left is higher. All the pro-war messages were higher than the red ones. So that just gives you, if you don't want to break down the numbers with us, there you get the sense with colors. Pretty good. Should this not surprise us? Because the media always wants to go to war because that's when people watch the news, I guess?
It says in the article that all the polls say that we don't want to go. We just came from war. Like, can we get a second? Take a breather. Like, holy crap, you know? I think they all, I mean, this maybe is a conspiracy theory, but I feel like they all have a combined interest, whether they're liberal or conservative or whatever box you want to put Al Jazeera in. I think they're all after money, and I think war creates revenue for people, and I think that that's ultimately, like, it's in certain people's best interest to go to war, even though it's not good for the country. I think other people have their
So isn't the MSNBC example perfect example of, if this was Bush wanting to go to war, obviously MSNBC wouldn't have been pro-war, so it just shows you they're all picking a side with their guys. So Fox was against this war because they don't like Obama. I mean, this is Psych 101, right?
It's definitely no shock, though. I mean, people tune in when there's a disaster, when there's war. Like, that's when they're glued to the TVs. I mean, think about when the trade centers went down, anything like that. I mean, you become immersed in these stories, you know, and so they want to push for it. And I think with MSNBC, I think what's happening there is that, you know, that is, they're kind of targeting their demographic that's watching it in terms of like that's their main story. I think Fox has like other stories they tackle on them because their demographic might also be more simpler in other sects of things, you know. And
well said.
That was my PC way of putting things. You know, and I think that's why they talk about it more, because even, I mean, Democrats want to hear about it because they want to be like, you know, kind of stand behind, we're not going to war, Obama, you know, this and that. But no, I think it's absolutely no shocker. I mean, people, if you look at local news, they talk about car crashes, murders, and you rarely hear about something that's positive happening in the world. It's a shocker, and it's about 5 seconds long. So.
Yeah. So is the fascinating part of this that Al Jazeera did basically the same sort of pro-war messaging that the other three did, because people thought they were going to come in and give us somehow more of a balanced approach or something more pro-Arab, so to speak. But, you know, they're based in Qatar, which has obviously ties to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was offering for us to pay for us to go to war. Yeah. So is it sort of just this big, it's just this big mess of there's money in war.
Is it like keeping up with the Joneses? Like, I mean, really, is it like news channels have to keep up with what other news channels are doing? Because there's obviously some type of, you know, recipe for success. People are tuning in. So if one station doesn't do it to a certain level, are people going to just go to the next one?
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of just sort of like a rallying cry. Like if everyone's like, let's go to war, there's not that much excitement in let's not go to war. Like how much programming.
Let's be peaceful.
Right.
Yeah, like
let's go to Target.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like reality television. You don't tune in to see the girls like all get along. Like, you look amazing. You look amazing. Da, 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 da. You tune in for the part where you're like, you look amazing. You look amazing. And the interview, they're like, that bitch was so. I can't believe this shit. You know. So it's like, obviously, they're, you know, the ratings are more for the tension and all of that, and we like to tune in to see things like that versus like nice, good stories, unfortunately.
Yeah, I cannot believe this, but the media is slightly less hated this year than they were last year. That's right. 44% of respondents in a new Gallup poll say that they have a great deal or a fair amount of trust and confidence in mass media. That's actually identical to 2011, but it's up slightly 4 points from 40% in 2012. I'm sort of shocked by this because the more we have social media, the more we see all the constant errors. Every time something's breaking on CNN, they make 10 different errors and they retract it and people take away tweets. And now, you know, I mean, every time something happens, there's a, well, that source, or we got that one wrong. Fox does it all the time too. Let's take a look at the graph here. So you can see it's peaking up. It looks a little on its way up at the end there, just a tiny bit. And we're only talking about 4 points, but that is something. You'd think it maybe would be dumping 20 points. And the biggest jump, interestingly, is in Republicans and independents that are trusting the media more.
Yes, because I don't understand. It's like the media is reporting that we're more trusted, says the media. You know, it's like me being like, according to Whitney Mixter, Whitney is thinner and smarter than last year, says I.
Says
you know,
Whitney Mixter.
It's like I don't understand where is this coming from.
That was a good time for you to touch your
well,
IFP,
thank you.
by the way.
Let me just, reporting live. Yes, it's true. I am smarter than last year. No, but and also, where is anybody also reporting on whether or not they trust polls more?
Right,
you know?
right, because also who gets, you know, I got a call for the first time in my life this week. I got a call from Quinnipiac. That's a college in Connecticut that does, they do the big ones. All right, you're from Connecticut, right? Yeah. Have you ever been to the polling station over at Quinnipiac?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I spent my summers there. No, I haven't. I didn't even know.
Well, I got a call from them this week, and they said, we want to know, you know, if you'd be involved in this poll. And I was excited because I was like, I never got one of these calls.
Poll?
No, it was something. Well, I don't know what it was because I said, well, how long is it going to take? And they said about 12 minutes. And I was like, I don't have time for that. But even think about that. Who has time for a 12-minute poll? So the people you're getting in the polls already are a group of people that I guess just have a lot of time on their hands.
That means people call them, they're like, do you have 12 minutes? Oh, yeah, I got time. Do you trust the media? Sure.
They're just looking for someone to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm watching TV right now. Wendy Williams, she's telling it like it is. That girl, how we doing?
Exactly.
So 46% of the people polled in this Gallup poll say the media is too liberal, 13% say it's too conservative, and 37% say it's just about right, like porridge. Does that, I mean, any of those numbers?
I mean, really, what are they going to say? Like, they're going to be like, no, I don't trust them. They're shady, you know, da-da-da. No, you always have your favorite sources, like you love Anderson Cooper, so you always have your,
do you have somebody that you feel like when you're watching them is a little more honest?
I would like to feel like CNN is in the middle, because I am myself an independent. Like, I have to hear, you know, what the topic is. Sometimes I'm conservative on things. Sometimes I'm liberal on things. It depends on what it is, although I do shy more towards liberal. But, yeah, I think.
But you have a person. Like an actual person that you go, all right, that guy seems.
Samantha Shocker, of course, on CNN.
Yes. On HLN, I believe.
She's amazing. Yes, Dr. Drew.
Yes.
But no, I don't follow a specific person per se. I like to just kind of, and that goes to how I am in politics. I kind of like to see. I like to sprinkle it all, hear it all, you know, judge all, so to speak. But I'm much more interested in you know, what's being said on the talk about my favorite celebs. I got to be honest, I'm a total gossip, like love that stuff.
Well, that's why you gave a shout out.
The world is too hard. Yes, the world is too rough. It's too rough. I gotta hear something else.
Yeah.
But no, like you said, like it's according to who this is happening. Like, what kind of agenda is this gonna? Like, I don't trust. You're saying we trust you. I don't trust what you just said.
You don't trust polls.
Us trusting you. Yeah, it's like I don't even trust that.
Yeah.
So I mean, whatever. It's one of those silly things that I think is funny, but I don't really pay much attention to, and I don't, you know.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't trust the media blindly anyway, and that's why what we do here at the Young Turks, there's no corporate influence. And even though I do have something in my ear, it's just so I can hear the audio of the videos. I don't have someone barking instructions at me, at least right this second. I assure you that I don't. But actually, if I was going to say one or two people that I do sort of think are a little more honest in media, I think Jake Tapper on CNN is pretty decent. He always looks depressed, which I think is a sign of someone trying to tell the truth. He has these, like his face, he's very sort of got these sort of lines in his face that imply like, I know I'm sort of stuck in this thing. And I like Erin Burnett, she's cute. Okay, and let's move on. All right, let's talk about Burger King. They have come out with slightly lower calorie French fries, and they even gave them a witty name, Satisfries. That's right, their regular French fries are 340 calories a serving, and these French fries, although they're fried in the same frying oil, they're only going to be 270 calories. As you can see, that's slightly different than their regular French fry because they are crinkled, which is very exciting and obviously causes more mouth movement, which then will burn calories as you're, I know I made that part up. So just a little more info about the fry itself. They are actually going to be fried in the exact same fryer that the regular Burger King fries are fried in, but this has to do with the batter. They are somehow making the batter less caloric, but you're still eating fried stuff. I guess this is good because, you know, it helps you sort of make decent choices when you go to these places, but these places aren't really about making good choices, right?
I have two opinions on this. The first one is anything that's diet, it's like people think, oh, diet cookies, I can have the box, you know, versus like 2 just regular cookies or whatever. You know, it's like, oh, I would have ordinarily had a small fry and I'll have 2 large because it's diet, so why not? And they end up, you know, consuming more calories than they would have to begin with. The other thing is, mark my words, this is going to be the Skechers shape-ups situation of Burger King, because people think, oh, great, all I have to do is just get the Satisfries and I'll be losing weight in no time. I'm on my way to a bikini body in a second. It's like, no, you need to calm down on the French fries altogether.
Wait, those Skechers shape-ups, is that what they were called? Did anyone wear those?
No,
did people really think?
And they walk around the mall. And they sued because they were like, my ankle would turn and I didn't lose weight and I didn't. Well, obviously you didn't. Like, you can't sit on your couch with the shoes on and expect something to happen, you know. So I feel like it's kind of in that category of like.
Oh, you don't just lose weight when you put the shoe on. You have to actually move.
Exactly. Like, you know, look, it's great that they're going this direction. I think it's fantastic that fast food chains in the last 5 to 10 years have made a huge effort to, you know, add fruit or add salads or add, you know, great, cool, PC done. Now, that being said, it's just like, and by the way, on a side note, kudos to the guy that came up with Satisfries.
Satisfries.
Oh my God, let me just give that man, like, he obviously is in a big chair right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really think it's just, it's only 20% difference. I think that people, unfortunately, will be like, you know what, I'm gonna get the Satisfries and then 2 burgers. Yeah, I'm gonna make up for that 20%. I really don't think it's gonna.
But the bigger issue here is people aren't reading between the lines, because when I was looking at this, you know, it said that a rep for Burger King, when asked what it was that made it less, it actually is something that that they won't disclose, that prevents the oil from soaking in more in the batter. I'm like, what are they dipping it in kitty litter before they put it in there? It's like an oil retardant. Like, you know, I just don't understand. And it's like, what is that going to do, you know, to your body? It's like how Splenda causes ADD and this causes cancer, sweet and low, or whatever. It's like, what is that going to do? Usually, honestly, you know, the full fat, the full whatever is actually more beneficial to your body in real life.
And that actually goes to what you were saying about how people then compensate by eating more, because even if you think about diet soda, you're getting no calories, but you're putting all this aspartame in your body. And then on top of that, you probably drink 2 or 3 sodas when you may have only drank one regular Coke filled with all that
and the general portions of Burger King are bigger than McDonald's. So a small fry in McDonald's that's full fat actually has less calories than...
Is that true?
It is true.
You're telling me a small and a small...
I'm reporting like this earpiece. Oh yeah, McDonald's, and I don't work for McDonald's.
So you're saying a small fry at McDonald's and a small fry at Burger King are not actually...
A Satisfries small still has more calories than a small McDonald's full fat fry.
I didn't even know McDonald's had small fries.
They do. They have.
I always just automatic. If I'm going to splurge, I am going to splurge.
But they don't even supersize anymore because the movie got them to take away supersize. Scientists at MIT, that's the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, believe they have found the gene which performs the role of memory extinction. They've started doing this in mice, and they can basically isolate your bad memories. That's where this is all going. This is sort of like the movie Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind. And this is where the future is heading. They'll be able to erase our bad memories. But don't our bad memories sort of add up to the whole human experience? And where will this lead us? And I'm opening that wide open question to
I don't like it one bit. I do not like this one bit.
You were shaking your head when you started.
I'm shaking. This is tampering with the human experience too much. I mean, this is like the beginning stages of, number one, what if, you know, somebody's having an off day and they slip a little bit on whatever they're trying to, you know, erase or whatever, and something else gets,
is having
or whatever, you know, I don't know the exact technique that they're using, but I'm saying, like, how close are we talking here? How can you pinpoint things? And also, you know, there's not a way that you can say that one experience is just completely eliminated without affecting emotional responses, psychological responses, you know, everything. It's like a domino effect. So this is going to completely affect your psyche. And I just don't trust that, you know, other aspects aren't going to be removed and other aspects aren't going to be added. And I would like to say also that in reading the story about the mice that were affected,
yes, I'm going to give some mice info.
Who's to say, you know, we haven't interviewed these mice firsthand. Who's to say that those mice that were once scared about going in the cage and then not scared, what if actually what they're doing in their brain, and they don't know it yet, is they're adding some type of like gangsta gene, where instead, it's not that they've forgotten, it's just that they're like, yeah, motherfucking cage, I'm here and I'm not afraid, so what's up? You know, you never know. So what if you tamper in, all of a sudden you just got a whole lot of hardcore motherfuckers out there.
Well, that being said, I should probably explain the study a little bit. So they used mice and they gave them a mild electric shock when they entered a certain cage. And then when they altered the TET1 gene in half the mice, they no longer remembered the traumatic experience. So obviously, this is a long way from getting to where it can be used for humans and where they could actually select the specific memory. And is this really a gangster gene? And God only knows what they're doing. But don't you think the human experience, if you were, we've all had bad experiences in our lives, if you were able to go back and erase something that happened to you when you were 8 that maybe was bad, don't you think it could cause a cascading effect in the way that you created your personality and who you are?
I am with you. I think that it's disastrous. I think that mistakes is how you succeed, through mistakes, how many times you've fallen, how many times you get up, all that good stuff. And I believe the only risks that you regret are the ones you didn't take in life, you know? So I don't know about gangsters. That's a little, that's so much. Might be gangsters. I mean, who knows? They're amplifying the gene, so it might be, you know, it might be like bring it. But
I was sort of picturing the hamsters from the Kia commercial, but a little more badass.
That's happening in my head too.
Whether or not they're able to do this, they shouldn't be able to. I really don't. It's human, like you said, it's human experience.
Yeah.
I think that there's something to be said for who you are today is based on, you know, it's going to be like zombies, like people walking around not remembering certain things. Like even if it was, let's say it's a perfect science. Let's say they were able to nail exactly and extract exactly what they want to and not refer. It's like, what good comes of that anyways? Like really, you know, like I don't know, to me.
Because then you're like weaker. Then it's like you're a weaker.
And you're walking around with rose-colored glasses like and then you forgot that you've been robbed before and you're walking down the street with your gold chains and there's these other gangster ones that have been amplified that are like, give me your chain, you know, and it's like, nope, not gonna get that one.
This is the end
I gotta
of the
learn
world.
this lesson again. It's like, how many lessons you learn your lessons from, you know, the bad memory
Right,
stuff.
and then you'll just get addicted to having your memory erased. Man, that's going to be the next thing.
And then where will alcohol sales go? I would like to know that as well. I thought that's the whole point of going to a bar is to, like, you know, forget the reality for a little bit.
So really, this could harm the economy because people won't be going to bars to bury their dreams in booze. This is very much also like the movie Vanilla Sky and memory. But the Total Recall, which is my favorite science fiction movie, that they could then go ahead and implant memories. So if you can't afford the big vacation, they can implant the memory of the big vacation. I mean, this is all going to sort of Matrix stuff where we're just going to sit in a chair all day and have things beamed into us, and we're just the battery, right? We're just the battery.
Yeah, I think this is definitely playing with fire. I don't think we should.
Anything that has to do with that sort of
cerebral.
Yeah, but is that also part of the human experience, that anything that we develop through science, we always use? You know what I mean? Pretty much the only thing that was ever developed that they stopped using was the beta. You know, instead of the VHS, like they always we use everything. Like, isn't that part of it? Like, even if this does really alter how we live and for all the bad reasons, like that, it's sort of part of evolution that maybe will evolve into something else. Or am I getting a little too?
I know. I think we're getting like really philosophical. Like, well, that is the human experience if we've created it. And, you know,
this is all an illusion. We're not really
we're not even here. Right?
You know, you could go crazy with that. Yeah. I say keep your memories, good and bad. It makes you who you are. Builds character. I don't know.
Or just suck them out and see what happens. Woo, crazy.
Now, if I could have other people's memories sucked out, I would be okay with that. I just don't know if I want to have mine sucked out. On that note, I want to thank my guests, Vanessa Gomez and Whitney Mixter, and I'm going to let you guys pimp yourselves out. Vanessa, talk to that camera right over there.
Hello, all. Okay, so if you have any sort of inkling or like for anything horror, then you would love my new show, Nightmare Nightcap. It premieres on dreadcentral.com, which is a huge horror website, so I'm really excited. Check it out. It's like 2 minutes, and we review everything from like horror films to Halloween conventions to Monsterpalooza, Scare LA, you name it. Check it out, dreadcentral.com.
And Whitney Mixter, I know you have something big coming up that I'm not going to mention here at this very moment.
Okay, yes, we won't mention things, but stay tuned. You can follow me at Whitney Mixter LA on Twitter and on Instagram, Whitney Mixter LA on Instagram. And we have a fall line coming out on clothandjustice.com. So stay tuned for big things.
There you go. All right, well, we're going to go get some Satisfries and then get our memory wiped and then do it all again until we're fat fucks. All right, guys, thanks. Oh, and subscribe. It's right down there. Click it. Forget about it. Okay, there you go. Thanks.